welcome to the very first episode of the soon to be legendary 22 Sound Show. This is Evan, Stu, and I from 22 Sound, the independent record store in Mandeville, Louisiana, talking about the kind of stuff that you talk about in a record store. So, of course, mainly music and records. We thought it would be kind of cool to bring those conversations to you. Also, maybe give you a little insight on what's going on inside a little record store like ours. So, today, talk a little bit about what's been going on in the music world, some of our favorite recent records. Gonna talk about some records that we can't believe are still at our shop. What's going on with y'all? And first of all, though, I want to give the word to Evan. He's going to give us a little rundown on what's about to happen as far as events go at the store, because November is pretty packed.
Yeah, no, we're insanely busy this entire month. We're just recently coming off the tail end of the Taylor Swift weekend here in New Orleans. It was insane. I mean, I'm sure, everybody's seen all the news coverage, and actually, the store was previewed not once but twice on WDSU, so we were very happy for that. Completely random, by the way. They just showed up. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, no, like I said, we had the Taylor Swift weekend, where we had karaoke and friendship bracelet making and quizzes and stuff, and we were able to give away some prizes, so that was a lot of fun. This upcoming weekend on November 9th, we actually have a double booking. Derek Riggs, the creator of the infamous Eddie from Iron Maiden, is gonna be at the store from 1 to 7 p.m. on November 9th. He's going to be doing signings, different memorabilia. He's going to have things of his own, such as art, books, that kind of thing. We've got an event page. Definitely follow all of our socials for the up-to-date events on that. That same night, following Derek's signing, is going to be the advanced listening party for Linkin Park's From Zero album that's going to be coming out. So, we're very excited about that too. So it's going to be a very busy day. Following that week on November 15th, the Molly Ringwilds are actually going to be here at the store, doing a small acoustic set as well as some signings for their upcoming EP that's becoming pressed. And then we'll be at St. Tammany Comics and Collectibles that weekend on the 16th and 17th, followed by Black Friday Record Store Day on November 29th. So again, like what Manu said, very busy weekend or month. Sorry, not even weekend, month. So,
That's
uh,
awesome. Well, I would say if we're diving into the music news a little bit, one of the biggest news, I guess, for people in our area here in New Orleans, but I would say for metal fans all around the world, is the big announcement of the Acid Bath reunion. That was quite the
right.
thing. So I wanted to ask you, Stu. You're the one that was really in it when it was all going on. You were really part of that scene. So tell us a little bit about why is Acid Bath so special to the New Orleans scene? What made them stand out so much?
Um, it's strange today for me because back then, I guess Acid Bath was one of the bands that was kind of they weren't really in the clique of New Orleans bands. When you think of New Orleans bands like Crowbar and Down and that group of guys, Acid Bath were kind of in the Bayou parishes, which is where my band was from and everything. So we kind of had our own thing going on, and we'd have to, just kind of venture into the city and try to become a part of that. And so we always kind of felt like outsiders, but even so, Acid Bath had the ability, and they were just so, their stage performance was so charismatic, their music was so unique and original that they would build a crowd. It was undeniable that they were going to do something. Um, and I think what they touched, they can kind of feel like changes in extreme metal coming, subconsciously. And they kind of started, they were adding all these elements that would later become new metal. So they were almost like new metal before new metal. They were like proto new metal. Um, so I think even though they did get a record label, a small independent record label deal, they weren't really as famous as when they were active as they are now. So it's strange for me to see tens of thousands of people like so excited about an acid bath reunion. These guys I know personally. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and I'm sure it's going to be great. They're going to have tons of people that weren't even alive when they were active. So yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. Kind of surreal to look back at this. These guys from the Bayou that I grew up playing shows with on that scale. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, what I was like, when the kite string pops, I was 8 in Switzerland, so I had no idea who they were, of course. That was like
Yeah,
another thing. But it shows a little bit of the timelessness, really, when I'm looking back at it. But one thing I always wonder is when I listen to them and like kind of seeing where they went after that, was it basically like a happy accident that these guys
exactly.
were
I
kind
was
of
actually going to mention that. It's kind of like a lot of the most influential bands, you know, started out as kind of a happy accidents. It was like dueling factions in the band. I don't want to say that, they didn't agree and get along with one another, but, it was clear that Audie and Sammy were way into death metal and black metal and stuff. And then, Dax and the rest of the guys in the band were kind of not. They were more into like garage rock and psychedelic. And, Dax was kind of like a modern day Jim Morrison, really. So I think it was, you know, when you're living in the bayou, you kind of gotta have to make do with what you have. So they were all musicians.
yeah.
They were looking to be in a band, so you kind of had to make it work. So they did. So there was a little bit of each of their influences that kind of in the gumbo pot, so to speak, and we got acid bath out of it. A band that was super aggressive, but yet had songs like "Scream at a Butterfly" and "God Machine" that had a little bit more melody. So.
So what went wrong in the sense that they didn't make it too big? I mean, of course, we had
Tragedy.
tragedy in there, but do you think it was also business wise that maybe they just couldn't? I
The
mean, I remember you telling me about Roadrunner almost signing them, and I mean, they kind of, huh?
Yeah. How they it was like the guys from DRI that I think got them that deal with Rotten Records. And back then any deal was awesome. You just kind of took what you could get. But it ended up not being a great of a deal. But I think it really was mainly the death of Audie that kind of tore the band apart. That's you would think, oh, you can just replace a bass player, but I think there was just something about what he brought to the band. They really just felt that they couldn't continue. I think they tried maybe for a few practices and it just didn't happen. So there it is.
It was crazy. But here we go. I mean, 30 years later, basically, and they're on this ginormous bill there. I don't know what else is planned for them. Of course, we know that big festival. What's it called again?
Sick New World. Yeah, we're actually going to be going over there up in April. Very excited for it. So I'm taking my son. This is actually going to be his first big festival.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
quite the lineup.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if they planned on having, if they had were planning on having acid bath lower in the bill, and then when they saw the reaction from, and all the comments, if they're gonna push them up, like,
Well, I know, I mean, of course, looking at the flyer and everything, I mean, they're definitely not on the lower tier of it. So, I mean, if I remember correctly, I want to say that they were definitely up there,
yeah.
you
So then
know.
you can get like Metallica's announcement of the festival and everything, and everybody's commenting about acid bath. Yeah. So it's strange.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, what else was going on in the music world? I mean, of course, if we're staying in the metal world a little bit, Paul Di'Anno passed away, legendary first Iron Maiden singer.
Yeah, that was no pun intended, that was kind of killer when I saw that I was going to work the other day and I had it on Bayou 95.7 and they did an announcement on there and I had to kind of wait, what? And just kind of seeing that it was just it was nuts because I mean, I don't know if he had anything going on or not. It just kind of felt sudden and out of nowhere. So
I think he may have, because I saw some pictures recently where he might have been in a wheelchair or something. So I think he
mm,
may have had some stuff going on the down low, but I don't think he was much of a public figure in recent years, as you would expect it from someone who was once the singer of Iron Maiden. But
No, that yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that was kind of yeah, like I said, that was just kind of crazy there, but
there's a few other folks who passed away too in the music world.
yeah, Liam from One Direction.
All
Um
right. Not
yeah,
half an hour cup of tea, but yeah.
yeah, they that was, that was definitely a little bit of a strange one too. I didn't go through and do a follow-up on the actual cause of death, but I know that there was some talk back and forth between like the hotel lobby manager, and there was some issues and stuff like that that were going on upstairs. So, I need to follow back up and see exactly what what the official one of that one was.
All right.
I remember
And we
seeing
also wasn't so much of a musician, but he was a big advocate for New Orleans music. Eric Paulson, a
saw
longtime
saw that.
broadcaster from newscaster from New Orleans. You know, he's been our newscaster down here since the 70s. Everybody down here grew up with Eric Paulson and his love for local music. So it's going to take a while for us to get used to waking up without his voice.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah, Janine was talking about him the other day, and yeah, she was saying that she remembers just kind of growing up with him, because yeah, I mean, especially during the era when she was watching the news. I mean, that was he was the one who was on all the time.
yeah,
So
he was still doing the
yep,
morning show. We still had him on the news every morning, getting
that's
ready for
awesome.
work.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
sad to see that.
Well, past all that death and dismemberment news, I cannot believe the amount of calls that we have been getting in about the new Cure album. That is blowing up. So magically, we had gotten a call the other day asking if we were doing a listening party from The Cure, and I was telling some of our customers, like, we haven't received anything from the label, nothing like that, for us to sign up for it, because I mean, we sign up for damn near everything. We don't care what it is. And next thing I know, a buddy of mine had sent me a tweet. Um, well, I guess on X now, whatever X is calling it, but saying,
Is it
hey,
not called Queen anymore?
I don't know if it is or not, but I have to, but no, saying, hey, The Cure mentioned you guys. I was like, what? So I'm, going over there taking a look, and sure enough, our store was listed on different listening event stores, that would be with The Cure. And I'm like, well, we didn't sign up for it, but damn, we'll play it all day. And next thing I know, we had gotten a package in the mail of posters and pins, and to be given out with purchase. So after that, it's like, oh, okay, well, we had ordered it, and of course this seems to be a thing around, because I called Euclid and a couple of other record stores, and they got short on shipments as well. So we only had very few. So, like, some of the some of our customers that pre-ordered, they got theirs, and I think we had like one or two for the store to sell for this particular week. And so we got those. But I mean, we've been getting calls, messages, and everything, because apparently we're the only store here in the state of Louisiana that got the posters and pins, and people were
Okay.
freaking out about them.
Well, that's
But
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So we do have more ordered. We do have, I think we've got one indie exclusive left that can be secured from our order, and then a few other standard black ones. And then, we do have very limited pins and posters left. But I will tell you this, we've been listening to that album from Friday, and I'll be putting it on again today, and it is solid through and through. Like it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah. I've checked out a few minutes of each song, and it definitely,
I mean, and,
takes you.
with the amount of songs on there, it almost feels like an EP. But damn, I mean, like, I think the shortest song on there is 6 minutes long, and then some of the other ones are like 10 minutes. So I mean, they're really long. But I tell you what, "A World Forgotten" is probably my favorite song on the whole album. You know, it's just, I mean, the whole thing is just very melancholy, and takes me back to to the Crow soundtrack, the original. It's just, I mean, they got that feel all, like they didn't skip a beat, and it is good through and through.
I definitely need to spend more time with that, but good to hear a classic band like that's still getting so much attention.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, and the demographic that's called in too, was you know, I was very shocked at it because we've had, from, as far as the age range on the demographic, so we've had, just from 18-year-olds up to, mid 50s and stuff. So I mean, we've had a wide range, which has been nice. So
Awesome.
Yeah, finds like a lot of teenagers are, well, not just into the Cure, but the Smiths and all like that kind of sad English people from the 80s. It seems to be really relating somehow to teenagers right now in
I
the
mean,
2020s.
It's a big thing again with bands like Slow Dive and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that too. Yeah.
they're, those are timeless bands though, I mean, because they all, any bands like that truly talk about the feelings, from hurt, heartache to happiness, love. I mean, those are all just natural feelings that everybody feels throughout their life anyway. And especially for teens, they're, those emotions are all over the place. And yeah, like, the Smiths, the Cure, Slow Dive, they all capture that, that
Yep.
that moment in time. And yeah, this album is no different from that.
Sweet.
That is cool. Actually, like seeing that or like how teenagers still love Nirvana and all that stuff. I mean, that's as long as there's teenagers, there's gonna be Nirvana fans, it seems like. But it's kind of interesting though that there's not a whole lot of new stuff. Being like guitar driven that's really, getting through to the mainstream. It seems to be that there's the interest is there to a certain degree, even from the younger generation. But I don't know, find it interesting that there's not rock still seems to be a little bit dead when it comes to, the younger generation.
I think.
It's alive in like certain pockets, but as far as mainstream commercial success, that may be a thing of the past.
Well,
Yeah,
and I,
it kind of seems like it.
and I may be wrong in this, but I think a lot of people are afraid to go in that direction, and not like it was in the early 2000 like hot topic era of, oh, those are scary people, but to break out of that societal norm of, I have to fit in this box. If I don't fit in this box, even though I like this, I don't know how that I can fit in. And I think a lot of that, especially now you know um with social media and stuff like that, it's so important to have those likes, that dopamine hit to be seen. And you get that when you fit in that box. And if you don't, even though you may really like this genre over here, it, as a, we're going back to teens, it is very hard to like that without being, and I don't want to use the term shunned, but you know where I'm getting at.
Right.
Because, I mean, we have a lot of very strong vocalists and a lot of very strong bands that, I mean, if you listen to Sirius XM, or just seeing some of a lot of these local concerts. I mean, we have, and especially with the female demographic right now, I mean, between Spirit Box, Ginger, The Warning, Arch Enemy. Nita Strauss, going from being just the guitarist for Alice Cooper, and now she's branching out and doing her own. So I mean, so you've also not only have very strong, male leads, but then you've got these really strong female leads. And I agree with you guys. I don't find that they're being seen nowhere near as much as a lot of these, pop artists that are out there. Not to downplay, pop artists or anything, but it'd be really nice to actually have a lot of these other bands, be out there, be seen, be noticed.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
just
there
going to
is, of
take
course, if you if you complain about it, you just seem like an old dude, and
Right. Yeah, you don't want
should
to be
probably
gatekeeper.
shut up. But
Got to get past the gatekeeper stage and start what, anytime something does happen in rock, like Machine Gun Kelly or Demi Lovato putting out a rock album, all the old rock guys shit on it. And if
Right.
we do want to see
that
it
is
in the mainstream again, in the top 40 again, it's gonna be, on the backs of folks like that.
Well,
So
and funny enough, I was very happy to see because when Master of Puppets was on Stranger Things and it was blowing up, Master of Puppets became #1 on the charts again, and all of that, due to the show. A lot of to your point, Stu, like a lot of the older rock guys were like, oh well, they're just listening to that until now. James Hetfield came on there and he's like, so what? Like they're
right.
literally learning our music. This is awesome. I don't care what medium it is. And that was probably one of the coolest concerts we've ever seen in a show. You know what I mean? So I mean it's yeah. I agree with you is instead of gatekeeping music, share it. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? You
Yep.
know, you
now
know,
the thing though is, of course, then it was like a, almost 40-year-old song from a band that's already ginormous. What it would have been maybe cool if that scene had been a riff or a song from a new metal band, but maybe then it wouldn't have had the
well,
same effect. It's kind
well,
of hard to tell, like how
the
much
show,
was.
yeah, well, the show takes place in the '80s, so it was
Yeah,
it
of
was
course,
the
it
most
makes
pot.
sense
Yeah,
in their
yeah,
context.
right.
They could have used the Forbidden song. Exodus.
Oh, that would, yeah, no, that would like Toxic Waltz or something like that. But I think Toxic Waltz might have been early '90s. But yeah, no, I get your point.
That was the 80s, I think. But
Was it okay?
yeah.
All right.
Well, from The Cure and Metallica, bands that sell tons of records, I guess we should go into the records that are still in the shop that shouldn't be still in the shop.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's these
Vanguard.
bands that we all love, and so when we place orders, we order stuff because like, oh, this is great, everybody, and we assume everyone else is going to love it as well. But then sometimes those records end up sitting in the shop for years. Stuff that there's some stuff we ordered on the day we opened that's still sitting there for some reason that shouldn't be. So we wanted to maybe highlight some of those records, give some of those records shine. So
Yeah,
did you
which
guys
one
pick
do you
one
think,
or
Stu? Hmm?
what was that? Did you guys
Which
pick
one do
one?
you think is like ridiculous that we still have it?
Mine, mine would be this. And I know I take every opportunity I can to talk about Butch Walker and the Marvelous Three because they are one of my favorite artists of all time. But yeah, this is to me my favorite power pop record of all time. This is the Hey album by Marvelous Three. Came out in 1999. It was a major label release. It was on Elektra Records. Um, it's just everything I was looking for at the time. It's a perfect blend of 80s rock, 70s power pop. It's kind of like a mix between Elvis Costello, Cheap Trick, a little bit of grunge influence in modern rock at the time, but it just hit me. It was everything I was looking for at that time. I had grown tired of metal, was kind of looking to get more into punk and the power pop that first attracted me to music in the first place. So this record just had a huge impact on me, and I thought everyone else would agree, but it's still sitting there,
No.
and it shouldn't be. So yeah, if you haven't given this record a shot, check it out. Butch Walker and the Marvelous Three. I think you guys will like it. Just give it a chance.
Yeah, one that always stood out to me, I guess, because it really has been in the shop since before we even opened it, is Hanoi Rocks. I should
It's a
have
great choice.
prepared better and brought it here so I could show it, but I don't know that I remember when that was up for order, when we were kind of putting everything together for the first opening, we were so excited, like, oh yeah, that's so cool that we have that there, and it's now actually still sitting there this whole
And which
time.
one is Two Steps from the Move? That
Yeah,
one?
actually, I think we have Bangkok too, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, but especially Two Steps from the Move. I'm shocked that it's still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I always thought because we actually sell a good bit of like 80s rock stuff. I mean, if there's Motley Crue in the store, or Rat, or stuff like that, that always sells. So I thought, the audience is actually there that would maybe go for that. But so maybe they're just not known. That I guess that might be what it is. I guess they were a little unlucky in a way. I feel
Yeah,
like they were a little too early, maybe
yeah,
in a
they
way to be.
influenced all those bands.
Yeah, exactly. But they themselves never had that big success, I guess. So, to me, they're like the perfect, um, like they kind of connect that 70s glam with what then happened in the 80s, or like the 80s version of glam. It's kind of like they're right in the middle. I always
Yep.
think if the New York Dolls had been much better songwriters, they would have been Hanoi Rocks. Not, I don't want
Yep.
to shit on the Dolls, but I think
Right.
they sound a lot like them, but are actually much better songwriters, in my opinion. So
Yeah, and
that
I
is one
mean,
that stands out to me.
yeah, and I mean, they really, I mean, you could see Hanoi Rocks in almost every band from the 80s, from the style, the looks, the attitude. That whole sleazy attitude kind of came from them.
Mhm.
I mean, Izzy Stradlin from Guns N' Roses was basically doing Hanoi Rocks cosplay. I mean, he really was. I mean, you could tell no difference between him and Andy McCoy, in their early pictures. So, and we all know how it ended with the Motley Crue drunk driving incident that took the
it is
life of
really,
Hanoi Rocks drummer.
Right.
in a way, it is really ironic that they were basically, to a certain degree, even literally killed by Motley Crue, who they influenced so much and who became such an enormous band. It's one of the big, I don't know, tragedies, I guess, of rock and roll in a way, that what happened there personally, but also I guess from a musical perspective. But the cool thing is, I mean, me, of course, I wasn't even born when that record came out. I discovered it way later, but I love it to this day. So I would say, if you're listening to this and you enjoy that kind of stuff, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Skid Row, or yeah, just that kind of scene, check them out. That I would be surprised if you didn't like this record.
And that record specifically, because that's probably the easiest one to dip your toe into. The other
I
ones
think
are
so.
probably more like the Dolls instead of Motley Crue, whereas Two Steps was
I
right
think yeah,
there.
that's like really when it
And
became
we'll
the
Yeah.
definitely,
80s.
yep. And we'll definitely grab these records. I'm actually going to be going in the shop here in a couple of hours. So what I'll wind up doing is the ones that we kind of talk about. I'll put on the wall. Whenever that you come in for the ones that we talk about. So
Perfect.
so you'll be able to see them. Yeah, for
You
you
got
know,
some Evan that you can't believe they're still there.
yeah, actually, kind of breaking away from from the '80s metal into more of the industrial scene would be Stabbing Westward's Chasing Ghosts. Um, that one, yeah, I mean, Christopher Hall's voice in that is just absolutely amazing. And, I know, a lot of people that, grew up in the 90s with, whether it was Stabbing Westward, Gravity Kills, through to a lot of that, techno industrial era. This album hits just really hard for me. As far as like the production, it still has that raw feel to it. And even their self-titled track on here, Chasing Ghosts, it's just really good. The sense just really aggressive to it. Again, I mean, if you are a fan of any band from that era, whether it's you know even synthwave or industrial rock, I would highly recommend checking this album out.
That
Yeah.
is actually kind of surprising. I'm not, I gotta admit, I'm not really into that scene, I guess, but I'm surprised too. I thought that would be one that would sell quickly, actually.
Yeah, whenever it came out, like we went through and grabbed it, and then I mean, of course, Wither, Blister, Burn, and Peel is a huge time, which they're re-releasing that, by the way. Very excited. That's supposed to be coming out sometime in December, so we're gonna get that for sure. But I mean, I think a lot of people are just trying to come off of that high of like Save Yourself and I Hate and all of those songs. And with this one, it was a bit more contemporary, but the lyrics still hit very hard. So and yeah, like I don't know why this one kind of felt, I guess it was left by the wayside. And I don't know if during the time of when this one came out, if people were moving away from the genre. I don't know, but I think going back and giving this one a chance, I think people would really like it.
I think one thing I definitely noticed, like, you know, being in a record store and kind of, trying to figure out what people want. Because I guess for those of you who don't know that, I guess back in the day, record stores were able to just sell back the stuff that didn't sell. We can't do that. So we're always just guessing, hoping that we get the right stuff in. And of course, you always want to put a little bit of your personal taste in there too. And sometimes you get something in that you don't think might immediately sell, but maybe you can, recommend it to somebody or so, and somebody else will like it. But as a small operation, you always have to kind of make sure you can't constantly buy shit that nobody wants. You're gonna go under pretty soon. But I guess one thing I definitely noticed is with it seems like most bands kind of have their little lifespan, and the later stuff usually doesn't sell so well. If it's a legacy band, not a one that's still, you know, relatively new. But if you have a band that's like big in the 80s, you probably don't want to get the reissue of their 2007 album in, because nobody's gonna give a shit about
Well,
it. Seems like that's almost always the rule.
and I hate to pick on Metallica, but Black Album and anything before that sells
Oh yeah,
regularly. I
safe
mean,
bet.
right, exactly. But we've had 72 seasons, and since it came out, which is their latest album, I think we may have only sold one, maybe two, and we've got like three or four on stock now. The album's not bad, like Ex Eterna, and some of the other songs that are on there. It wasn't bad, but again, you have those diehard fans, which I was actually sitting here with my son the other day because he never actually listened to Metallica. And so we we sat down and went through the eras and what people liked, for from inception. It's like, okay, most people only like Kill 'Em All up to And Justice for All. And then when the Black Album came out, then you've got, this generation that may have liked from Black Album to Reload, maybe Garage Inc. Nobody liked Saint Anger. And then you had, a lot of the new stuff, which Metallica is one of those bands that every single time they come out with an album, you know, you're always going to listen to it at least once. I don't care what generation that you are in. They are one of those bands of, I'm going to give it a try and then I'll make my reserves. But then, of course, the legacy folks are like, yeah, no, they haven't gone back to their roots. But I get exactly what you're saying is there is that lull of or certain albums with those legacy bands that, yeah, they're always a safe bet. We can always get them. And then there's others where it's like, well, we're taking a chance, but it's always good to have that mixture in the store. And we always, one of the biggest compliments that we always get of anybody that comes in the store is we have such a wide variety. And some of those people that are coming in that it's like, ooh, I like that off the wall album of that band. A lot of times we have it, which is great. So sometimes taking that chance, even if it's just one, it's good to have it just to, have that difference, and it doesn't look like that we're a cookie cutter store. And I hate to use that
Yeah.
term, but it's true.
Then
That's true. Now, of
get
course,
issues with a band
sorry.
like Overkill is even trickier because we have a ton of their later era stuff and that's just kind of sitting there. So it's
Right.
like when they reissue some of their classic albums, you're like, did we order a whole bunch of those? Because the other ones aren't selling, So it's just kind of tricky all around when you have to put money up first to buy all this stuff that you're just not sure if there's a market for out here.
Right.
Yeah, it's always a little tricky. But yeah, what about do y'all have any records that recently came out that you're excited about? I know we talked about the Cure album. Stu, you made a post about that. Well, it's actually kind of a compilation, I guess you should
Yeah,
call it. So I just
yeah.
I listened to it today because I was actually not aware of it. So
Right.
I can
That's what I
check it.
figured.
It's really
From
good.
our part of the world wouldn't be too familiar with Jesse Malin, so I did want to just highlight it because I think it's a huge project that deserves attention that, it's not really getting out here. It came out on streaming services about a month ago, but it finally was available to retail stores this past week, I believe. But the compilation's called Silver Patron Saints. It's a nice 3 LP book, sort of gatefold deal. Jesse Malin was a staple in the New York hardcore and punk scenes of the 80s and 90s. In the 2000s, he's been releasing solo albums, kind of the same trajectory as guys like Paul Westerberg and Peter Searcy. They kind of started out rough and rowdy bands, but kind of had a little bit more to offer from the songwriting department. He's another one of those guys. He's just been putting out great albums. He gets somewhat attention, regionally in that area. But like he's had no big breakthrough song outside of a duet he did with Bruce Springsteen a while back. But yeah, so unfortunately in mid 2023, he kind of had a rare spinal stroke that left him unable to walk and obviously unable to perform. So he's kind of been in a bad way financially. And this is just a bunch of his friends, big name folks, got together, recorded a bunch of covers of his songs, and I was just blown away. You hear projects like this, and you're like, man, you kind of expecting half-ass attempts at his songs, but it's just shocking at how fitting each song that each artist chose is to their style. I mean, you could put, like, for example, the Dinosaur Jr. track. You can slap that on any Dinosaur Jr. album, and it would be the best Dinosaur Jr. song on the record. Same with like that Counting. I can't get the Counting Crows cover of Oshina out of my head. It's just amazing. Yeah, there's tons of stuff. The last side 6, is the punk heavy side. It's got Rancid, Gogol Bordello, Agnostic Front, Murphy's Law on it. So yeah, it's got everything, from mellower stuff like, Jack Antonoff's Bleachers, it starts out with, and everything, to Agnostic Front. So really good project. I think it's got a little bit of something for everybody, regardless of taste. At least give it a shot on streaming sites. And if you like it, check it out. I think Evan said somebody, a couple folks ordered it online from us already since I made the post yesterday. So hopefully some other folks see this and give it a shot as well.
Yeah, somebody in Georgia actually had ordered it, which I thought was really cool. So there you go, Stu. You're making making influence across state lines.
So just real quick, I'm not going to spend as much time on this, but I did want to point out that Chat Pile, this sort of noise rock metal band, is kind of blowing up now. They're on the cover of New Noise. They recently put out an album called Cool World. It's great as well. It's, like I said, it's noise rock. It would fit in perfectly with that 80s, 90s, Steve Albini type stuff that was on, Amphetamine Reptile Records. It's just perfect. If you haven't heard this, give it a shot.
Yeah, I gotta say to that Jesse Malin record, I actually wasn't even aware of him. I gotta admit, I'm not really in that scene. So for me, just listening to it, it really actually sounded to a certain degree like a compilation of just those artists that are singing the song or reviewing the songs. It's crazy how it fits.
Then it's jarring, really, when you hear it. You're like, "What? That sounds like it could have been off the latest Bruce Springsteen record."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool. Gonna have to spend some more time with it. And that chat part, I have to admit, I only listened to it one time all the way through, I think.
That's more acquired. It kind of sounds like Big Black, early noise rock, a little bit of Helmet if you're looking for a sort of popular band that you can kind of relate to, but in that field.
Yeah, no, it's cool to see that they're actually, getting pretty big, it seems like, in that scene. For how big a band like that, I guess, can be in that right now. I gotta say,
I think I found interesting about it is, like, this looks like a black metal album.
The
logo is very black metal.
I was kind of hoping for
that. Not gonna lie, whenever we had taken that out of the box, I thought it was until I went and looked it up because I was like, really, "Oh, okay, like right, yeah, exactly." And then when I'm sitting there doing the labels, I'm like, "This isn't black metal at all."
Yeah, I gotta say, probably the record that I liked the most last month is, I know, not super creative choice, is the new Blood Incantation. Maybe one that I guess is getting a bit of a hype too, if you can say that, in that scene. And they've been, I guess now, pretty hyped for a while. But in a way, this seems like the predecessor to their 2018 album that kind of got them really big in the scene. But I really love how they are like going really into that 70s prog rock in certain moments. It's kind of like Pink Floyd meets, death metal. Even at the very end of side B is almost like has like a black metal feel to it even, but it's really cool how they somehow put these parts together and it works, and it's not just like here's a part, cut, next part. Like they kind of, the way they pieced it all together, I think is really masterful. They're a really good musicians, and yeah, I really love it. And it really is kind of like it's side A is a song, side B is a song, both like 20 minutes long. It really has like that it's like modern day 70s prog, but really heavy. I really love that record.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of critical acclaim over these last two records, which is I should last three records because that the one in between was sort of an odd,
Yeah, it's
ambient.
I almost don't count that because I mean
Right.
it
But
was
yeah,
just so different.
yeah, but they've been getting so much attention that it kind of speaks to how good they are because that's a crowded field, the whole death metal field. There's a lot of bands, so when you have one that stands out like that,
Well, and
it says something.
especially standing out in the mainstream eye. You know,
Yeah, even Pitchfork gives some good reviews. I mean, is that, but now the gatekeepers probably think, oh no,
well,
they're
so
sell out, fuck
so
them.
so I was actually talking to to one of our customers, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me name dropping, but Speed Wilson, he came in, and we were talking about listening parties and stuff like that, and we were discussing metal, and you know, mainstream does not pick up on a lot of death metal bands. Like
No.
we would love to do listening parties for like Blood Incantation and and a or Spectral Wound and and a bunch of others, but like one, I feel like that the label doesn't really do a whole lot for them. And then like even Speed was like, well, even the bands don't want to do half the shit anyway. So
Yeah.
but to see Blood Incantation, actually start really popping up in a lot of the mainstream media screams volumes. And
Yeah, it's
and
cool. It seems like every now and then there is a band that kind of gets picked up by those type of outlets as well. I mean, Undeath got like pretty favorable reviews too in some of the bigger zines. I guess it does happen every now and then. It's kind of cool. I mean, I think it's great. I know in the metal world, there's already people that think they're just hype and shit and everything because of that. Probably now, of course, there's everybody has their own taste, right?
right.
Obviously, but I'm sure there's a bit of that gatekeeping part already there, and that's always kind of unfortunate.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it is nice to hear when you do have a band that that you love and that you're wanting to share really start to get that popularity. But
Yeah, and then just one more real quick.
yeah.
If you're into metal, that I listen to a lot of metal, but that really stood out to me, and that I don't think we'll get a review in Pitchfork is the new Black Curse. I don't know if you heard of those guys. They're actually
Mm-mm.
weirdly from Denver too. Denver is really a breeding ground for extreme metal these days. And this is really best described as, I guess, hellish or maybe infernal. It really is like brutal black metal, super long songs, but like that, those like old school, really dirty black metal riffs, but not that kind of black metal that you feel like you're in a cave in northern Norway or so. It's somehow more like you're actually inside of hell. It's really good. It's really hard to describe. I can't really put words to it, but somehow it is really insane, but somehow it stood out to me. And it's hard to stand out in that genre, especially when you don't throw in other influences. I guess it's easier to stand out when you have that kind of, hey, we're doing death metal, but we also have, proggy influences, or were putting some saxophone solos in there, but this is really like kind of primitive black metal, but something about it just makes me want to go back to it over and over. Really good band, Black Curse.
I'm gonna have to
You
check
gotta
that
love
out.
how metal fans describe music. It's like you're in the middle of hell. What that? Why would I want to experience
I
the middle
know.
of hell?
I
It's
know
gonna
it
make you
sounds
want to bathe in the
terrible.
blood of virgins.
Like, this is so rude. It's like a chainsaw to the head. Like I don't want that.
Yeah,
So
actually, it makes me think why would, yeah, it's probably not a good explanation since why would I enjoy that? Yeah.
I
And
mean, but
I
but
mean,
Right,
I
but
right.
have a 4-year-old. Most of the time, I'm listening to this shit with one headphone while I'm playing, like, with trucks. And this is going on.
it, no, man, it's fine because you've actually got your own soundtrack for when you're sitting there riding the trucks. You're good.
Yeah. Hey.
And I'm gonna actually stay on the metal train for a minute there because one of the albums that I've been listening to since early last month, it's a super group called Cemetery Skyline, and they put out a band called Nordic Gothic, and the lineup is Mikkel Stain from Dark Tranquillity, also part of the Halo Effect and Grand Cadaver, and the vocals is actually Marcus Van Hala from like Insomnium, and on guitars they've got Santeri Kayo from Amorphous, and on keys we've got Victor Brandt from Dimmu Borgir, and then on bass you got Vesa Ranza from Sentence. So when I first, you know, I'm sorry, Vesa Ranza was on
Can I
drums,
just
my bad.
say
But
these are all bands that I really love mainly, but I can't believe you know all these
so
names. You
so
can
so
say them.
so I try. And I messed up. Vesperata is actually on drums. That's my bad. But no. So like when I first heard about it, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be heavy as hell. Like, I mean, you've got all these bands, coming together. It is a straight up gothic metal album. Like early 2000s, Sisters of Mercy, Typo Negative, 69 Eyes, like just really good. Just very slow driven. The lyrics are very low like this as you're going into it and just completely bring me back. I'm insanely excited about this album. I think I've listened to it about 5 or 6 times now. And just anytime that I can, you know, um, it just kind of it takes me back just because of like they've got like a lot of like religious imagery to it. It's very just dark, it's haunting, and I mean, a lot of the influences during that time. I mean, again, like I said, Sister Mercy type, typo, at that time there were so many bands, that came out during that time that were all gothic metal. I mean, I don't want to use, like I don't want to say oversaturated, but it was oversaturated at the time. But, here we are 20 years later, and then you've got a super group coming out with something like this. I mean, it feels needed, and listening to it, I really hope that it starts to get the recognition that it deserves because I mean, musically, the whole thing is a banger, and the lyrics are just really good. Like I said, they're very dark, very haunting, and I love that, these guys. I mean, because I know like all the other bands that they're in are very busy right now too. So to be able to take that time and start working on a band like this, I mean, I'm very happy with it.
Very
Sounds
cool.
cool. I hope it doesn't mean we'll have to wait longer for a new Insomnium album, but I'm happy they're doing some other stuff too.
Well, so like if I'm gonna tell you two songs on there to listen to, I would definitely say Behind the Lie and In Darkness. Those are probably my two favorite songs from there. Ooh, The
Awesome.
Coldest Heart is really good too. Listen to that
Have you checked out the new Onto Others? If you're kind of talking about this type of style, you will probably love that too. That's really kind of like an old school goth, but metal.
one.
It's
Yeah, I haven't listened to the new one. I'm gonna make a note of that real quick.
yeah, you
It's
will.
got
I
mixed
think you
reviews. It's
would
got mixed
appreciate it.
reviews because it is pretty strange in spots.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a bit I feel like the last one was a bit more cohesive. Like it kind of they branch out into like different little things. Like one song is basically a straight up 80s power ballad.
Oh hell yeah.
But
Okay.
I'm yeah, I mean to me that's a good thing. To others, that's probably a bad thing. But I thought it was cool. It has a lot of songs too on it. Like I guess I'm more used to these days again, more like the 10, 12 song albums, unless they're fucking Blood Incantation and it's 2 songs. But yeah, I feel like they're doing a lot of different little things, but they all kind of make sense. It's like because I guess it's 2024 and these are guys that probably have influences from times that they weren't even alive yet. That all is like they take them out of these little parts that to them don't it's not weird to them probably to put that together. You know what I mean? They didn't have like the dividers because they're experiencing it now. It's kind of my theory behind it. So I don't know. I thought it was really cool. I don't know where I'm standing on whether it's better than the last one yet, because I guess it always takes a little time.
You don't have to choose. Just let's do them both.
Just just put it on random. It'll be fine.
All right.
All right.
All right.
How long have we
Well,
been doing this? About an hour now?
About that. I mean, it's been engaging for our first time. I mean, we'll cut it up.
Well, even if nobody watches it, it's good. We don't ever get to the three of us are barely in a
No,
room together every day. So
yeah, so it's nice
we're
to see each other.
we're costing, the pond over there, with Manu being in Switzerland, so shoot.
yep.
So we're having transatlantic conversations.
Exactly. That's the modern world.
Oh yeah.
Next time I'll bring you some Swiss black metal. So
Y yes. No, and I do want to throw a little bit of a shout out. So the other day, before we wind up wrapping up, I went to because my son loves boba tea, so we went and we hit up Kung Fu Tea up over here, and they had a little pop up, and a big genre that I'd like to actually kind of point out is K-pop right now. Uh, they are really blowing up around in the Louisiana area. And they actually had a group that was out there, and I'm gonna have to share the. I'll probably wind up splicing it in on this because I did take a video of them, and I got to watch them, and these kids are talented, man. Like the coordination, and just the synchronicity of every one of them. I mean, you've got 7 of them, up there just doing these dances and stuff, and it's very impressive to see. And they had just like a couple little pop-up vendors. These were all teenagers like that were just setting stuff up, and to see that kind of initiative, I mean, it was kind of awe-inspiring. So I went out and I talked to him a little bit, and to see, if there is any interest in the area, and maybe even having them come out up to the shop and stuff like that, and kind of see. Because I mean, we've been, like we've had a number of people, coming in and out asking for, different anime stuff now that we're starting to carry, as well as some K-pop stuff. So I mean, again, like we were talking about earlier, our store really does have a really good wide variety, and it's nice to see these other genres and these kids coming in asking for some of this stuff. And to be able to have that, so it'd be really nice to see, them out there and see what they can do and get them some exposure.
yeah, it's cool. Gotta admit, I don't know a whole lot about K-pop, but yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the cool things about our shop. We always said when we first opened, we don't want to be like elitist or anything, or you have your taste, of course, and I think that's a positive thing. But we always said we want to, kind of have something for everybody.
People want
Um,
K-pop. give them K-pop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep, exactly. But all right, gents. Well, I think this was a really good first episode. I think definitely excited to do more, to do more of these. And and hopefully we'll be able to, what are we looking at, just like a once a month kind of thing? Is that what people should be
Yeah, I'm
expecting?
thinking the next one will probably be heavy on the Black Friday record store day. That's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah, let's definitely plan as well. I mean, of course, we're gonna have our unboxing video. And what we'll do is that we can definitely get together something like this. Maybe Stu, you and I can meet up at the shop or something like that, and then we'll have Manu on, and we'll kind of sit around and talk about it. So,
Sounds good.
keep an eye out on that, and then as we have further announcements, definitely be sure to um, you know, follow us on socials, all of our events, all of our new records that come in will always be posted on there. If you have any questions or anything, all of our information will be below in the channel. So yeah, no further ado, I think everybody have a fantastic day.
All right.
Buy some
All right,
records.
all right, later, guys.
Bye.